The ideas come from this reservoir of things that have a certain resonance in terms of culture and gender and narrative. But I don't break it down and I don't try to understand it or make it linear. I just know that they're back there and I know what I'm drawn to. It's interesting when people try to find biographical parallels between the drama or the so perceived torment or unrest in these things, because it's not about me. You know, it's about more of a collective accumulation of things that are larger than anything that I'm experiencing.
Cristina Cordova makes art that looks back at the viewer. Her work often depicts movement, figures trapped in transition, staring out over an elusive horizon. There is an idea of cultural diaspora in her sculptures. Lost souls wandering the earth, always searching for safe passage and a chance to reconnect with their past. After leaving her native Puerto Rico and earning a graduate degree in the U.S., she and her husband Pablo, a glass artist, moved to the mountains of North Carolina. Cristina's heritage and her unique viewpoint of American and Latin culture give her work a broad human perspective.
I think as human beings, there's this push and pull between being connected and doing things in a manner that is collective and feeling distinctly and almost painfully isolated and segregated from this whole. And I think the bridge from one to the other for true empathy and for true connectivity, which is so daunting considering the fact that we're such a vast body of people, but I think it's in understanding and it's in almost stretching your mind to access another person's reality. And I think art lets you, for a second, leave your space and enter into somebody else's space, and then suddenly the world is revealed through that moment, in that moment. And then you go back to your own space in your own life, but you have that residue of that. And so it enriches your life and it allows you to exist at a different level. I guess I'm not trying to parallel what I see around me. I'm trying to take things of interest that I see around me and compound them and make them even more dense and even more heightened, and then put that out there. In the scheme of things, it's hard to justify sometimes why you commit to a life in art. And I have to work really hard to find the truth in and really why this is essential. Not only to me, but for humanity, because it's a lot that goes into it. And it's something I'm working, I uncover every day by tidbits, like why is this honorable and why is this essential and why is it worth my whole life, When I decided to become an artist, there was this big question mark in my mind because I see such a clear distinction between doctors or lawyers or people that get an education and walk into a structure that's pre-established, and then artists that walk into what? This void where everything has to be designed. When you hear doctors going through their residency years and how excruciating that is, physically as well as mentally, and I think, all artists do that. You have to do that. You have to go through those moments. It's almost like breaking yourself so that you can actually accomplish that vision that you have for what you want to make. I have this desire to create this final effect, and that I try to find vague, figurative compositions that will take me there. But as I'm going from point A to point B, I understand it more, I change it, The layers of color, size, all those things keep compounding it. In this world, you don't have patents. All you have is maybe repeating something or being persistent with a theme or a technical angle long enough that people somehow give it to you. Like, allow that to become you and your style. I think I'm using the figure as a vocabulary to talk about ideas that create this tension and this layering of things that might seem contradictory yet coexist. I'm hoping that through this, one can get a sense that things are not exclusive of one another. You can be repulsed by something and it can still be beautiful and attractive to you, and you are allowed to look at that. The reality of immigration really came back to me as I myself became an immigrant. When I was 23, I left home and I came here, and even though we're, a Commonwealth, it's such a severe and distinct change, and there's so many things that you leave behind. Some of them are replaced, but some of them never find a voice in your life again. I guess I'm just interested in the space where moving from something that's so familiar to something that's unfamiliar, where that leaves you. I was trained as a dancer, and so the language of the gesture has always been in the back of my mind, and it's not like I have a code for, each one of these hand positions or leg positions or general gestures, but I think intuitively I try to stage something so that every extreme point in the figure, meaning the face, the hands, and the feet and the toes, all those are really important because those determine the edge of where the eye goes, and they propel the eye in a certain way and with a certain speed to go around the figure. And so it's a balance of all this, tied to that ultimate idea that I want to create. Working with the figure and ceramics, you're trying to harness two traditions, which are huge, and they all have their different quirks and their rules, and it's really uphill. Long lines without any movement slow down how the viewer sees something. If I'm working with an ultimate idea of something that's more provocative, then the hands might reflect that more. If it's something more lyrical, then you might see more of that softness, and other times the fingers are really spastic. And so, yeah, there's hints of that general feeling through those hands and their positioning. But also aesthetically as points throughout the sculpture to keep the viewer moving through. That's what I'm interested in, is that final space of ideas and sensations. And so I'm interested in that, and I have this vague sketch. And so that space in between is basically just, creating this bridge. I try to keep it as basic as possible in terms of firings. I think all artists need to figure out how their minds work so that you can actually get to the space where the work that you value comes from, I think there's something very soothing about putting these beings in these situations of being witness or being vehicles to something that's complex and interesting. You don't know exactly fully what it is, but you know by certain hints throughout the composition that something's happening. And you're channeling through yourself. You understand it by using yourself as you think the viewer might. I just really love this black on these reclining figures, and it felt conceptually right. I think it's all about work, it's all about exerting yourself to your limit and looking around you to know that you're on the right track. And it's a constant dialogue in relationship to your work to make that strong enough to actually be a player in this space of ideas.